The best ranuncula on earth are known as Tecolote Ranunculus. This specific strain has been hybridized to perfection over the last 60 years in our fields in coastal Carlsbad, California. This specific Tecolote Ranuncula is most preferred by fresh-cut flower growers and home gardeners because of its profuse flowering habits and flower size that these bulbs are able to produce. Ranunculus grow and flower in just about every region of the United States, provided that they're planted at the appropriate time. The appropriate time to plant ranuncula bulbs for the warm climate gardens such as California, Texas, and the Gulf states is in the fall. Typically, October, November, and December are the best months. If you live in a colder freezing zones, they're most appropriately planted just after the last danger of frost has passed in the springtime. Please keep in mind, these are tender bulbs. They will need protection come the following winter if you live in cold zones, and can be dug and stored or simply replaced the following spring. But these ranunculus have a very unique shape and form. As you can see, these look very much like a bunch of bananas. These are roots from last year's plants, and this year's flowers and stems will come from the top of the bulb right there. As a general rule, flower bulbs require well-drained soil to be planted in. The definition of well-drained soil is after a heavy rain, water doesn't puddle, or after a heavy watering by your irrigation system, water does not puddle. If water does puddle in these areas, I would do one of two things. Select a new area or amend the site with organic material that can be purchased almost anywhere. Peat moss is a good one. Potting soil is another good one. Planting ranunculus bulbs is actually quite simple. A few key things you need to keep in mind is the toes or the claws go down with the white fuzzy stuff on top pointing up. I've got 10 bulbs here that I'm just going to randomly scatter, and I plant these just a couple of inches deep with a little bit of soil on top of them, about 4 inches apart. Just making sure that I've got the toes pointing down and the white part pointing up, because the top of the bulb is where the flowers and the shoots will come from for this spring. And just in that period of time, I planted 10 bulbs. After the bulbs are planted, I like to level the soil a little bit and water them immediately. Bulbs require a good soaking. I water every day for the first 4 or 5 days to make sure that they get off to a good start. Flower bulbs require at least a half a day of sun or more, and ranunculus are no different. They'd like to have about 3/4 of a day of sun. Just after planting your ranunculus, you want to make sure that you keep the soil good and moist for the first couple of weeks so that the plant can root and sprout. After that, I'd simply water every couple of weeks. My current favorite fertilizer is a high nitrogen water-soluble fertilizer that we simply squirt out of the end of a hose bib sprayer. If you haven't grown ranunculus, we recommend them for containers, garden beds, or for cut flowers. Give them a try.